doing a video today. It's a bit of an impromptu video, but it's one I think I want to do. It's with regards to a clone brew I had done a little while ago, and that clone was the Black Sheep's Riggwelter clone. I'd ordered on a version 1, and I'd just about to do a version 2, and I thought I'd see if I can get the recipe a bit more accurate. So I've was given an article about the Black Sheep Riggwelter beer itself, and it had some input from Paul Theakston, who gave some ideas of malt that went in and what didn't go in, which was somewhat of a contrast to what the Graham Wheeler recipe recommends. But I brewed it nonetheless, and this is the beer. I can't see an awful lot through the light, but it looks fairly dark, but it's not black. See me finger there, I think. And so I decided to buy myself a bottle of Riggwelter, and we'll crack it open and we'll see if there's any similarity. Because I saw an article a little while ago claiming that a lot of these clone brews that you can brew, these clone beers that you can brew, they have very little reflection on the beer you're buying. In fact, they sort of are far from it. It's just that it's like because of the systems that they use against your home brewing system, it's hard to reproduce what they're doing to get that flavour profile. But that's what I saw. So I've got a bottle of Riggy. So I'll crack it open and we'll see how it fares against the home brewed version. Both of them are in chilled glasses. My Riggwelters come off the keg, so I had to pour it before I could pour this. But straight away, I noticed a difference. I don't know if you're able to notice that. Let's have a little look. Whether you can notice that. Nope, probably not. A slight difference in quality of head, and also the let's get myself back in it. And also the colour of the head, and the sort of the consistency of it. I mean, that one there is mine, and it lasts considerably a lot longer than that one has, which is virtually dissipated. They may be a little bit cold, but should we go in? Should we just go in straight in for the tester? See what we got. You're getting more hop profile on the nose with the original, with the Black Sheep version. Mine's, you get sort of caramel, coffee, slight chocolate notes with this one. And come to mention it, you're getting a little bit of malt coming through and a little bit of hop. But not so much, not so you notice really. In appearance, the colours are pretty good actually, to be honest with you. If I leave that one there where you've got a bit of natural light coming through, I should have actually probably filled this the other way around so you had a bit of visual. But if you imagine that there, and you got that there, I think mine is just a smidgen darker just by the fact that the amount of light that's being let through. But it's pretty good. It's pretty spot on, really. I mean, as you can probably tell, well, you can't really tell. As I say, the head is gone, all but gone. Mine's still lingering. What else to say about it, really? I'll put the recipe of mine up if anybody's interested in brewing it, even if it has no relation to this beer whatsoever. It does have a lovely taste. I love it. I love the beer. It's going to be a regular on tap. But I think we should just get into it and try it out and see what we got. So I'll give mine I tell you what, let's give the Riggy a bit of a shout out. Let's give it a bit of a do first. So cheers everyone. Crisp, dry. It doesn't give away any of that strength. You'd still think it was quite a very easy drinking beer. It's coming in at 5.7%. Is it 5.7? Yeah, 5.7%. So it's a strong ale. But you don't get that feel from it. It's, with it being quite cool as well, it's coming in about 9 degrees. You get that sort of quite there's quite a refreshing feel about it. It's not heavy. It's got a slight alcoholic, not burn, but you know it's got right on the, as it begins to warm up on the palate, you just get that sort of bit of a finishing touch to it. It seems to be quite hop forward, I would say. I think the profile of it has gone for something quite high, and it's quite a high sulfate level. Quite out of balance, I think, with the malt. So these probably got quite a low chloride ratio to sulfate ratio in order to get that sort of hop bite, I think you're going to call it. But let's give mine a whiz, see what we got. Right, the two of them, there are similarities, but they're few and far between. They're both different beers in my view. This one has almost like a creamy sort of mouthfeel to it. It's now, this may be, of course, because I'm putting this beer through my keg system with 60-40 gas. So it's got a more of a cream flow sort of feel about it, which might make it a bit softer feeling compared to this, which is probably just being carbonated with CO2. So I'm reckoning a lot of that sort of fresh crispness might be coming from a bit of carbonic acid, or maybe a bit of sort of a carbonic bite. This, on the other hand, is softer. Much more malt forward. It has got a good bitterness to it, but it's not drying. Not drying quite like that one is. This is more of a heavy beer, and that seems to be quite light in body. I think maybe when I brew this next, if I want to try and get it closer to this, which I'm not sure I do, but if I want to get it closer to this, I think I'm probably better off mashing fairly low, maybe 65, maybe even 66, keeping it crisp, keeping it a bit lighter. This was mashed at 69 to try and retain some of that body, thinking that that's what it needed, but obviously it doesn't. The body itself is not let it down, but it's made it a different beer. So we'll go back into this one, we'll see if we can pick anything else up. I think the hop flavour itself is pretty much the same, it just seems to be an intensity. But we'll go back in, we'll have another taste. Yeah, the hops are quite forward in that. As I say, it's quite drying. It's got a good level of malt bitterness to it as well. So I imagine there's a good amount of roasted barley in it. This here, I think as we get further down the glass, it actually looks a little bit darker as well. To say it's a lovely beer. I don't think there's an awful lot of difference between them, to be honest with you. As far as the flavour goes, I think the flavour is pretty good. I think it just seems to be a body sort of, oh, fuck's sake. It just seems to be a body come mouthfeel profile. That seems to be all it seems to be. Yeah. And I think maybe a yeast. I think maybe a yeast thing as well. Again, slightly different profile. That was brewed with a SO4, and I've got a feeling Black Sheep use their own house yeast. So I wouldn't know what that would be. Maybe Nottingham might be better. Maybe that would be the way of going. Using a Nottingham, would finish slightly lower, so it would make it a bit drier. This finished at 1020, which is quite high, quite sweet. I'd imagine that finished quite low. So maybe if I go for that, go for a middle of the range mash profile, go for a higher attenuating yeast, maybe a Nottingham, but I think I'll keep the malts pretty much the same, maybe a little bit less roasted barley in mine, just to lighten it a bit, only a touch, and see where that takes us. So anyway, this was like a bit of an impromptu taste tester, really. I don't know whether it's got any validity to anything. I don't know whether it offers anything, but I think it sort of does in a way. I mean, you can get beers that get close to a beer that you like, but I think overall, don't try and brew a beer to get an exact profile, because I think you'll be disappointed. So brew to a style of a Riggwelter, or to a Verdant Light Bulb, or to a Guinness, or whatever. Just try and brew to a style, but if you get close to it, or you hit it on the head, or you nail it, then you've reached that sort of goal. So I say, I hope this has been some use to you. I mean, it's been a little while since I've done a taster on my sort of YouTube channel, but I just feel it, I wanted to do it before the keg runs out, and I'm glad I have, because I'm quite pleased with it, to be honest with you. I'm quite pleased with it. So brew clones, get the original beer, see what yours stands up to it, see if it's of any good. If it's any good, then best thing to do is reflect on it and see if you can improve it, like I have done here, saying about the mash profiles, maybe different yeast, sort of work on it that way. But you'll get an idea whether you're sort of getting close to it. You'll get an idea whether you're sort of, what your efforts have done have actually pulled together a beer which you could consider workable or even better than the beer that you are drinking or emulating. I mean, that's also the other case, sort of, I prefer mine to the Riggwelter as a beer. But mine's more of a winter beer, and this is sort of like a spring, winter and autumn beer. So, it depends what you want from a beer, and depends, how you feel about it. But thanks a lot for watching, and I do think, I do thank you for spending the time just to have a look, and please do experiment, and that's what it's all about. It's about enjoying your hobby, and under these current circumstances, you know, the COVID-19, I don't really want to mention it, but just keep yourself safe. You know, don't be stupid and don't do stuff which is going to put yourselves at risk, or your family or any other members of your community. So just, you know, keep safe there and just hold on. Things will get better. Right. See you later.